Okay, so that showed us what protocols we were using. Now let's look at the length of this entire frame. Again, remember it's 308 bytes long. We can see that in the frame row. Our Ethernet, we didn't really point this out before, frame, if you come down to the status bar, you can see it's 14 bytes. Internet protocol was 20 bytes in the header, and the transmission control protocol was 20 bytes. So that means that our header is going to be 54 bytes. And we can verify this if we come over to transmission control protocol and look at length. This is actually the length of the HTTP frame. So if we look at 254 and we subtract that from 308, we'll get 54. And 54, as we already calculated, are the headers for Ethernet, IP, and TCP. And you'll find that whenever you go and look at the different frames, you'll have that same 54-byte header. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you can actually see the contents that are HTTP, and when I click on that, it highlights that content for me. If I look over on the right, I'm actually seeing the content of the web page itself. So from a security issue, I can actually see the contents of a file when I'm viewing it through Wireshark. We'll be talking about that more when we look at security issues related to networks. Now let's take a look at the summary information for this whole capture. So I'm going to click on Statistics and go to Summary. And if you look down here towards the bottom, this is where you got average packet and average packet size. I think some of you overlooked that this is a decimal point. Keep in mind that Ethernet standard 802.3, the maximum frame size is going to be 1,518 bytes. We learned that in Lab 2. So if you didn't have this decimal, if this was a comma, that would be an average packet size that would be bigger than the maximum frame size, which wouldn't make sense. Now let's take a look at the protocols. Again, I'm going to go to Statistics and do Protocol Hierarchy. You want to make sure you're clear on how these protocols nest. We've got our frame, and within the frame we have Ethernet. Virtually all of you should have 100% Ethernet. It would be unusual to have anything else. If you were using a computer system at work that had a legacy or older network that was using token ring or ATM, you might have some other protocol here, but that would be very unusual. Within Ethernet then, we have a variety of protocols, some that you'll see when you're on a LAN, as I am, and others that you would not. For example, we're all going to see Internet Protocol, whether you're working from home or at work. Within Internet Protocol, see the majority are those. We're going to have other kinds of protocols. Right now, the Internet Protocol, that's the data link layer. So we go down to the network layer, and you've got TCP. And if I scroll down here, you can see within TCP, I have NetBIOS, I have DCE, RPC, and Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So be sure you're clear on how each of these protocols relates to the OSI model layers. Alright, let's take a look at the devices involved. Again, I'm going to go to Statistics, and this time I'm going to click on Endpoints. And it starts out by showing me the Ethernet endpoints. And I'm going to click on the Packets column because I want to see which endpoint had the most packets. I'm going to click it again so it's in reverse order. And notice that this is the MAC address for that device. Well, I wonder what device that is. I'm going to guess that it's probably my network interface card. So I'm going to go to my command line and I'm going to do an ipconfig with the all switch. And I'm going to now look to see if I can, when I look at my physical connection is here. Notice that the last three characters, FACDDE, that's this address. And the first three characters or hexadecimal values relate to del. So yes, in fact, that address relates to my physical address. All right, let's look at IP packets. And again, I'm going to sort this so that I can see which IP address received the most packets. All right, I see that address there. And again, coming back to my IP config data, I can see that that's my IP address. So as expected, my address received the most packets. All right, the last thing I want to do is to follow this particular frame. So I've got it identified, and now I'm going to go to Analyze, Follow TCP Stream. And as I look at this conversation, I can see what happened here. Was a request to get a variety of pieces of this website. We've got a CSS file, we've got a JavaScript file, we've got a GIF, an image file, we've got another image file, and we have another image file. This time it's a PNG, and another image file. So that shows us what was actually happening with this TCP conversation.